This is fantastic. His head's literally rolling on the ground. There's absolutely no way he's still alive, right, Gege?
Right, Kenjaku.
What's up, guys? All Hunter, and here we are to do a quick discussion on whether or not Kenjaku is still alive and kicking, and gonna cause some mischief and mayhem within the world of Jujutsu Kaisen, even though his head is literally on the ground. And of course, I wish I didn't have to have this conversation. Well, actually, kind of, sort of. I'm actually happy I do have to have this conversation. But this is Gege Akutami, ladies and gentlemen. And I think you, as well as I, know that we can trust Gege as far as we can throw him. And to be fair, we don't know what he looks like, nor how big or hefty he is, so we don't know how far. So let's not waste any more time, and let's hop right into the discussion itself. What's up, guys? All Hunter here. And fun fact. This is the wrong one. No, not you. I do, in fact, have it on. And I keep it on me at all times. Now, obviously, unless you've been living under a rock in a sock, or you're an anime only, in that case, what are you doing watching this video? Huh? Did editing me make the thumbnail an anime image? Did I? I highly doubt that. I'm not sure. Maybe editing me did. I have no idea. I can't control him. He's a funny little guy. But with that being the case, unless you're an anime only, or you've been living under a rock, or maybe both, you know that Kenjaku is currently rolled. And I'm not talking about in a pack. I mean, like, literally his head is rolling on the ground. And in 9 out of 10, maybe even 9.5 out of 10 other series, I'd be like, he's cooked. He's cooked. He's gotta be cooked. Like, dog, he's literally, like, his head is literally on the ground. Like you don't usually get more cooked. I'm not sure, other than like wiping him from existence, I'm not sure how much more cooked you could make the man. Like, he's got to be done, right? I mean, kind of, maybe, most likely not. We're gonna go through a couple different reasons why I don't think Kenjaku himself is fully done, even though he could be fully done. Let's go with the let's talk about the cold hard facts first and foremost before I get into speculation, some discussion, and anything like that. Kenny, for all intents and purposes, seems to imply that he's cooked, notably by the wording he uses. Even in the official translation, he says, "My will live on." And sure, you can definitely use will to interpret he himself. Like, I can say, "My will live on," and then I will proceed to live on and execute my will. Like, yeah, it's as simple as that. You could definitely go with that. But he doesn't say I. He doesn't say me. He doesn't say the big brain boy will live on. He says, "I will let my will live on. My will shall be carried out," on some beat like that. And honestly, that's not too reassuring for his actual survival. That kind of implies that he himself is cooked. And, well, if he himself is cooked, that's it. That's the end of Kenny. But here's the thing, right? One, Gege's not that nice. Gege's not that nice. Do you really think, even if you are not in the Kenny's the main villain camp, which I understand, you know, we have Sukuna right there. What do we need Kenny for? Kenny's just a facilitator, right? He kind of just, he brought everything to the meeting, but he's not invited to it. So obviously, you know, Kenny's not that important. But, like, he's a major villain. For him to just get, after admittedly, you know, a decently length fight, like what, 3 chapters we'll talk about? I mean, it's fine enough. It wouldn't be crazy if he was cooked. But once again, Gege is just not that nice. I don't think Kenny's actually cooked just because it was way too easy. And don't get me wrong, I still praise Yuta Okkotsu for taking the easy path. I praise the cast for taking the easy path, because the hard path just wouldn't be worth it. I mean, ironically enough, especially if you go with the idea that Yuta just speed blitz Kenny, apparently it was just never that hard. like, presumably, if Yuta was able to take a sword, unsheath the sword, and just walk up to Kenny in base, apparently he could just always decapitate him before the anti-gravity technique or nothing. And obviously Yuta with cursed speech could just yell perish at any curses that Kenny releases, and they're all gonna. So, like, realistically, it was never going to be a high enough fight if you just go with the idea that Kenny being damaged by Takaba and off guarded or anything like that, or something like that. If you think that Kenny was at absolute full power when you decapitated him, then it was going to be a low-diff fight regardless. But even still, I understand the cast not taking that risk. And I'm proud of the cast for not taking that risk. But this Gege Akutami, I just don't buy it. That's my meta-narrative reason, right? Like, it seems too easy, too much of a setup. The big comparison I've been very consistently relating this scenario to is 235. Like, notably, we don't get a definitive I won statement or X won statement, but like, a majority of the fandom, and clearly 243 itself is meant to be read as Yuta won. He completed his promise, he decapitated Kenny, and now Gojo doesn't have to execute his friend. Not like Gojo's around to execute his friend anymore anyway. But like, yeah, simple as that. So, it does lean towards it, but not only is Kenny too major of a villain to be taken out in such a lackluster way, and by no offense to Takaba, I think he's a really, really good character. Is he in my top 10? I don't want to lie to you. I'm not even gonna lie to you. As much as I love Takaba and his backstory, he's struggling to push top 15. Can I name 10 characters I like more than Takaba? Yes. It's not even hard. It's just want to be like, maybe it's a bit of a... No, it isn't. But yeah. Well, I do like the unlikely duo of the comedian and his punchline, as everyone's been calling it. I don't think them getting such an easy dub makes sense. And it just reminds me too much of 235 and a 236. Though admittedly, the release of 234 does kind of put that idea into question, because we don't get a follow-up on it. At least not immediately. Though at the same time, that's another reason why I'm extra suspicious about Kenjaku genuinely being cooked. We don't get a follow-up on it by 244. We don't get a hard confirmation of anything. And last thing we saw, Kenny was still alive and breathing. Like, he was still, like, yapping and everything, too. Like, the bro lives... Yapping just must be the lifetime, the mantra, the whole ideology, because he's just still yapping as just a decapitated... I don't even know how that works. Like, notably, I yap by inhaling and exhaling words, which I need, like, my lungs to do, but I don't know. I guess Kenny had a whole bunch of oxygen stored up in there, because he was still yapping through Geto's mouth. So, he's still alive. And we cut away quite ominously at the end of 243 after Kenny makes such a declarative, oh yeah, BT dubs, my will be inherited by... Like, obviously, something about that seems just the teeniest tiny bit suspicious to me. So that's another reason why I think Kenny's kind of around. Not just because it was too easy, not just because it smells like a setup, but also because it looks like a setup. If it smells like a setup, looks like a setup, and tastes like a setup, it's probably a setup. Number 4. I think the merger kind of still has to happen. Like, notably, don't get me wrong, Gege's not a stranger to dropping plot points. Like, he's just not. No reason the man will just... And a plot point will vanish. Or at least it'll be reduced in importance massively. Remember, La Bomba, that was supposed to drop and flip the entire Culling Games on its head, was the international invasion. And it ended up getting like 2 chapters, if I remember, maybe 1. Like, we were building up to it for a hot minute and it went nowhere. Nowhere. Remember the other plotline? Remember how Sukuna isn't just Sukuna, he's like the disgraced, the fallen, something having to do with the deity of the Jujutsu Kaisen. Like, we haven't gotten a mention on that since Angel got bit in half. So arm got gone, we have not had a single mention of that. So, is it impossible, absolutely impossible, for Gege to have just dropped the plotline? Just straight up send it to the moon? No. Maybe the merger was just one big old red herring. Maybe. But I still feel like certain things are a bit suspicious, if you will. Just a little bit too suspicious. Because, notably, we don't know the exact timeline of everything, but presumably, if Kenny was genuinely cooked, something would have happened with the Culling Games. Because remember, Geto and his body is part of one of the fundamental rules of the Culling Game now, and thusly, if he perished, there should be some sort of glitch thing going on. But based on the cutback to 244, we don't see much. But presumably, something would have happened, but it didn't, which also feels strange and seems to lead me to believe that Kenny's still alive. And the merger itself is just something that I do believe kind of needs to happen, and no one can start it but Kenny. he's kind of necessary for that. Once again, you could go down the will path, but like, let's look at the hypothetical candidates. If we're not assuming like instant body swap, which is another thing that may lead to Kenny being alive, but not going with the immediate body swap idea, like who's left? Yuji? I mean, I guess Yuji could inherit Kenny's will, but he's busy fighting Sukuna right now. Choso, I guess he could inherit Kenny's will, but how is he going to start the merger? I don't think he will. Kamo, I guess, and a lot of people have been taking Kamo, booking it up the series real quick, as a one-to-one confirmation that he's being the one set up as a sleeper agent to carry Kenny's will, but I'm not even sure about that. Once again, because how is he going to do it? Kenny's kind of specifically needed to start the merger, and I think a little bit too much has gone into the merger for it to just not happen. And once again, this is just me straight up headcanon and theorizing. I thought we were going to get the Betis battle and the Betis... Lord. I thought we were going to get the greatest battle in the entire series of Yuta versus Kenjaku and Geto's body. I mean, sure, the decapitation is cool and all, but it's not the straight gas I was expecting it to be. So I've been wrong before. I was wrong about Gojo. I was wrong about a lot of stuff. Whew, I was wrong about Yuta. So, once again, I may just be wrong here, but I feel like we've put too much time into the merger for the merger to not be merging. I feel like it is merging time. And Kenjaku is the only one to be able to initiate merging time, unless you think Tengen's going to inherit the will and start the merger. But even then, I'm not exactly sure how that one would work, being completely honest with you. So me, personally, I think all of that goes into why Kenny kind of has to be alive. And another reason why I think Kenny kind of just has to keep on living is because we just don't know enough. And once again, Kenny may not be the main villain. If you think Sukuna is the main villain, I can be real with you. We know nothing about Sukuna. Nothing. Sukuna is not his real name, by the way. Like, Ryomen Sukuna is a title he got. Like, wait, let me double check that. I'm pretty sure Ryomen Sukuna is just like a title he obtained. Like, his name isn't actually Ryomen Sukuna. We know so little. We don't know the man's curse technique properly. We call it Shrine. Hirozu calls it Shrine, but that's about it. Let me see. Me, a target of the great Sukuna. What an honor. Oh, so is he really famous? Ryomen Sukuna, with 4 arms and 2 faces, is a demon of legend. Truth is, he was actually a human who existed, but that was over 1,000 years ago. In the golden age of Jujutsu sorcerers sharpened their skills against him, but were ultimately defeated. With the title, Ryomen Sukuna, he would traverse the ages after death as a cursed object we Jujutsu sorcerers wouldn't be able to destroy as remains in their own grave wax. So, we don't even know Ryomen Sukuna's real name. We at least know Kenny's real name. If we think Tengen's telling the truth that it's actually Kenjaku. We don't even know Sukuna's real name. We call him Sukuna. It's a cool name. We have no idea what his real name is. So the mystery of Kenny, once again, can just be thrown in the dirt. Like, once again, the mystery of Angel, kind of thrown in the dirt. But he's just a little too important. Like, realize the series literally can't happen without Kenny. Like, in multiple ways. Shibuya doesn't happen without Kenny. Sukuna, Yuji doesn't happen without Kenny. Like, nothing happens without Kenny. The whole plot as we know it simply doesn't exist. You cannot remove Kenny. And sure, is Genge the king of taking a sledgehammer straight to our ankles, and my ankles especially, and shattering them into 1 trillion pieces, and being like, your ankles are shattered. And then just dipping out. Absolutely. Once again, wouldn't be shunned if he just did it again. Shattered my ankles 1 more time for good measure. But Kenny is just a bit too important to be left ending like that. His will being passed on to a metaphorical being that we either know or don't know. Or just Tengen all over again. Kenny's been planning this for longer than even Ryomen Sukuna has likely been alive. That's how long the merger's been a thing. He is so important. Destiny in the world itself is like, we need to stop this man and introduce an entire system mechanic very specifically to stop Kenny from doing his darn thing. Remember, the star plasma vessels and the 6 eyes were introduced. They were added as nerfs to Kenny. The verse was like, wait a minute, this guy's a little bit too devious to be letting roam free. Let's add hard patches. Let's nerf this man as hard as possible. You make the 6 size, make the star plasma vessels, do that. So Kenny, just being reduced to a carry-on of will, just being reduced to some victim to be right at the end. Kenny, someone so important and so mysterious and responsible for so much, for him to be reduced to nothing but a decapitation, it just don't feel right. And I think that's the main thing. It don't feel right. And one of the biggest mysteries of the unknown that we have with Kenny is we don't know how the body swap works. We don't know what he means by will. We don't know so much. And with the ominous and endless circumstances that are set up by the end of 243, I feel like there's still a whole lot more to see. With the ancient sorcerer of more than 1,000 years past, Kenjaku, and his mystical, magical merger. That's what I think. That's why I think Kenny's still alive. Do you guys agree? Do you think Kenny's still going to be alive in one way, shape, or form? Or do you think he's genuinely cooked and his will is going to carry on magically? Or maybe that's just a red herring too and he doesn't actually do anything. And Kenny just fails in every single way, shape, and form. A whole juicy hit of dramatic irony. Please let me know all that and more in the comment section down below. I want to thank you so much for watching. If you made it all the way to the end of this video, please leave "He's alive" in the comment section down below. I want to thank you so much for watching. Please leave a like, share, comment, and subscribe. And make sure you hit that little notification bell so you do not miss out on any videos of the channel. Also, I do have a Patreon down below where you support for as low as $1 a month. Get things like exclusive videos, early content, and more. You can also become a member of the channel for as low as $3 a month to get the same perks and more. Some of those perks include the live reaction to the very next chapter of Jujutsu Kaisen. Now, thank you guys so much for watching once again, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day. This is That Guy with the Pencil, writing off.
I'd like to give a thank you to our $3 members, Recliner Planes, Redwolf 4765, and Greyhound. I'd like to give another thank you to our $5 patrons, Victor, Sean, Midnight Gemlord, Kevin, and Demix LND. I'd like to give a juicy old thank you to our $7 member, Autumn's Morning Lazo. I'd like to give a hefty thank you to our $10 patrons, Robbie Uchiha, Joaquin, and Idemokami. I'd like to give a shonka dunka hunka thunka thank you to our $25 member, Alex Ice Rose. I'd like to give a scrumdiddlyumptious super science thank you to our $25 patron, Calvin Elder.